If you clicked on this wondering why your packages are taking longer to arrive and costing more, you're not imagining it. You're probably wondering who I am and why you should listen to me instead of scrolling to another video about someone's sourdough starter. Fair question. I'm not a corporate analyst. I'm not a politician with talking points. I'm a former logistics coordinator who spent years watching trucks come and go and got tired of seeing good policies on paper destroy real businesses in practice. So I started reading the actual documents, the ones buried in state agency websites, so you don't have to. If this sounds useful, you know where the subscribe button is. No pressure. Here's what's happening right now in California. And I mean right now, as in this is unfolding as we speak. The state has been pushing something called the Advanced Clean Trucks Rule. Sounds nice, right? Who doesn't want clean trucks? But here's the thing about mandates. They don't care if you're ready. They don't care if the infrastructure exists. They just happen. And California is about to find out what happens when you mandate something before the real world catches up. Let me show you how we got here. Have you noticed that things just cost more lately? Not just a little more, a lot more. Groceries, furniture, that thing you ordered online that took 3 weeks to show up. There's a reason for that. And it starts at the California border. Over the last few years, something strange has been happening in places like Primm, Nevada, and Ehrenberg, Arizona, little towns right on the state line. They've become parking lots, massive staging areas where trucks from across the country pull up, drop their loads, and turn around. They won't go into California anymore. This isn't laziness, it's math. Let me explain it the way a trucker explained it to me. Imagine you run a small delivery business. You've got your own truck. You've been doing this for 20 years. You're what's called an owner-operator. You're not rich, but you're independent. You choose your routes. You negotiate your rates. You're a small business. Now California passes a law called AB 5, and overnight, you're illegal. Not because you did anything wrong, but because the law says if you're hauling freight for a freight company, you can't be an independent contractor anymore. You have to be an employee. Sounds like maybe that's better, right? Benefits, stability. Except, most of these drivers don't want to be employees. They want to own their business. And most small trucking companies can't afford to convert 70,000 independent drivers into full-time employees. So here's what happened. The drivers left. They moved to Texas, Arizona, Utah, places where they could still run their business the way they built it. And the companies that stayed, they started charging more. Because there's fewer of them now, less competition, higher prices. Someone always pays. And that someone is you. But it gets worse. At the same time, California is losing drivers. It's also losing fuel. Yeah, fuel. Let me paint you a picture. California is what energy analysts call a fuel island. There are no pipelines bringing gasoline or diesel over the Rockies or the Sierra Nevada. None. The state makes its own fuel, or it imports it by boat. That's it. And California requires a special blend of fuel, a boutique formula that nobody else in the country uses. So if there's a shortage, you can't just truck some in from Nevada. It doesn't meet the standard. You have to wait for a tanker ship from Asia or South America. Now here's the part that should make you sit up. Over the next 12 months, California is shutting down refineries that produce 17% of the state's fuel. 17%. Phillips 66 in Los Angeles, closing fourth quarter of 2025. That's 147,000 barrels a day. Gone. Valero in Benicia, another 145,000 barrels. The Marathon Refinery in Martinez, already closed. 161,000 barrels a day, already gone. You do the math. Actually, let me do it for you. That's nearly 280,000 barrels per day, removed from the system, in a state that's already a fuel island. So now you've got fewer trucks, less fuel, and higher costs. But wait, California also wants all those remaining trucks to go electric. By 2035, new trucks sold in the state have to be zero emission, which, okay, that's a goal. I get it. But here's the problem nobody's talking about. The power grid can't handle it. Their own documents say this. I'm not making this up. A study looked at 19 distribution feeders. That's the power lines that feed local areas. 68% of them, 13 out of 19, would need major upgrades to handle electric truck charging. One of those feeders? It would hit 300% of its rated capacity. 300%. That's not a small upgrade. That's rebuilding the system. And here's the kicker. Grid upgrades take 7 to 15 years. 7 to 15 years. You see the problem? You can't charge a truck if the grid melts. Literally. The heat from that much current flow would cook the transformers. This isn't political. It's physics. So let's add it all up. You've got a state that's pushed out its independent truckers, closed its refineries, mandated electric trucks, but doesn't have the grid to charge them. And the result? The Nevada drop-off. Trucks stop at the border, unload everything onto California-based trucks, and leave. Every single item you buy that comes from out of state now gets handled twice, unloaded, reloaded, transferred every single time. That's called a transloading surcharge, and you're paying it at the grocery store, at the gas pump, on every single thing that moves. Now, I want to be clear about something. I'm not against clean energy. I'm not against worker protections. I'm against bad math. I'm against politicians who write laws without asking the people who actually do the work if it's even possible. The truckers knew this wouldn't work. The logistics companies knew. The grid engineers knew. But nobody asked them. Or, if they did, they didn't listen. Here's what happens next. California has two choices. 1. Delay the mandates. Admit the infrastructure isn't ready. Give the grid time to catch up. Let the fuel supply stabilize. Stop hemorrhaging drivers to other states. Or 2. Push forward anyway and watch the supply chain fracture even further. Watch prices spike. Watch shortages develop. Watch the border hubs become permanent. Right now, it's looking like option 2. And the wild part? This isn't just a California problem anymore. 11 other states have adopted the same clean truck rule. They signed the Memorandum of Understanding. They're following California's lead. So if this fails in California, it's going to fail everywhere else too. But if it fails there first, maybe, just maybe, the other states will pause, take a breath, and ask the actual workers what they need. Because here's the truth. The people moving your stuff, the drivers, the warehouse workers, the small fleet owners, they're not the enemy. They want clean air too. They live here too. But they also want to resell, keep their jobs, feed their families, run their businesses. And right now, they're being told those two things are incompatible. That's the real crisis. Now that you see how this actually works, you'll start noticing it everywhere. The extra fees, the delays, the excuses. And once you see it, it's hard to unsee. If you want to keep following the money with me and keep digging into the policies that affect your actual life, you know what to do. No hype, no drama, just the documents and the math. See you in the next one.